A very good evening, everyone, and a very warm welcome to all joining us today for our webinar Campus Hiring 2026 Redefining Employability, Assessment, and Hiring in AI Era. For years, campus hiring has been closely associated with degrees, grades, placements, and resumes. But once a graduate actually enters a workplace, a very different set of capabilities starts to matter. Like, can they learn? Can they adapt? Can they collaborate? Or can they solve problems? And can they grow in the organization, right? And that shift is changing how organizations think about employability, assessments, and early career talent. And with AI becoming an increasingly important part of both hiring and workplace itself, there is even more to rethink. So today's discussion takes us through the entire journey from future talent and workforce readiness to redefining employability and assessment to building high performance organization with fresh talent in the AI era and finally leadership perspective. So to explore with us today we have a fantastic panel of HR leaders across industries. So now it gives me a great immense pleasure to introduce our esteemed panelists for today. We are joined by Anusha Malana, Vice President Talent Acquisition and Finance HRBP at Zepto. With close to a decade of experience in talent acquisition, Anusha has worked across diverse industries, organization, helping build strong talent strategies and high performing teams. Her experience spans strategic hiring, people partnerships, and creating innovative approaches to attract, engage, and retain talent. She brings global perspective to talent acquisition, combined with strong focus, technology, data, and collaboration to create meaningful hiring outcomes. A very warm welcome to you, Anusha.
Thank you so much, Ananya. Thanks for the generous welcome.
So next we have Devashish Panigrahi, Chief Human Resources Officer at Shriram Properties, with over 2 decades of experience across sectors including real estate, IT manufacturing, and investment. Devashish has worked extensively on helping organizations navigate their startup, growth, and consolidation phases. His work spans workforce planning, culture and leadership, digital transformation, performance, rewards, career development, succession planning, and governance. Having spent the past decade in senior HR leadership roles, he works closely with business leaders and leadership teams to strengthen organizational culture and build future ready talent capabilities. A very warm welcome, Debashish.
Thank you, Anusha. Thank you very much.
Also with us, we have today Sharmila Thakur, Chief Human Resource Officer, Egypt, India, and KSA at Mobily. With over more than 2 decades of global HR leadership experience, Sharmila has led people strategy and transformation across diverse organizations and geographies. Her expertise spans HR transformation, digital HR modernization, organizational culture, leadership development, DEI, talent strategy, and AI-enabled workforce transformation. She has worked extensively on building future ready workforces, strengthening leadership capabilities, and leveraging technology to create more agile and people first organization. Welcome you, Shamila.
Thank you, Ananya. Thank you.
And also guiding the entire webinar today, we have Alok Nidhi Gupta, the co-founder and chief executive officer at TalentRecruit. With over more than 2 decades of professional experience, Alok's journey spans entrepreneurship and building ventures across diverse industry. Beginning his career across the finance and legal sectors, he later transitioned into technology where he went on to co-found organizations focused on creating meaningful value through innovation. As the co-founder and CEO of TalentRecruit, he leads the organization's vision of building advanced recruitment technology solutions that leverages AI to streamline and enhance the hiring process. Welcome you, Alok.
Thank you, Ananya. Thank you very much.
And also, before starting the webinar, I would like to suggest everyone to drop your questions or any queries into the comment box, and we can take it up during our discussions. So without further ado, I would like to hand over the webinar to Alok to take it forward. Over to you, Alok.
Thank you, Ananya, for setting the context and introducing all the panelists here. So, good afternoon, everyone. I see 100 plus people currently have joined. So thank you very much for joining and taking your time. So, a very, very warm welcome to today's webinar on campus hiring 2026, redefining employability assessment and hiring in the AI era. So, I'm hugely delighted to be, moderating today's conversation. As we understand, campus hiring has always revolved around one fundamental question. How do we identify the talent that will shape the future of our organization? But today, that question is becoming more and more complex. As AI is changing jobs, skills, workflows, productivity, business models are evolving, and a new generation, Gen Z, is entering this workforce with a very different relationship with technology, learning, and work. And that brings us to an interesting paradox. We have more technology today, than ever, to identify talent. But are we getting better at identifying potential? A graduate entering the workforce today can use maybe AI to learn, research, code, test, analyze, or create even preparing for interviews today, right? So perhaps the question is today no longer just what does this candidate know, but can this candidate think? Can they learn? Can they solve dynamic problems? Can they execute? Can they work seamlessly or effectively with AI? And more importantly, can they create value as the world around them continues to change, right? This means, campus hiring itself needs to evolve. And we also need to rethink what employability means, how we assess talent and how we, look to see to hire them, because hiring the right person is just the beginning. The real opportunity is to convert fresh talent into high performing and future ready talent, in the organization. And that is exactly what we are going to explore today. So what we have done, we have segmented this session. The first segment, we are going to explore and talk about future talent and workforce readiness. In the second segment, we'll talk about redefining employability and assessment. And the third session, which would be quite interesting to explore, we will talk about building high performance organizations with fresh talent in the AI era. And we have three wonderful leaders, who are bringing perhaps the complementary perspective to this conversation. Anusha, where she will be talking in the context or perspective of talent acquisition and talent market. Devashish would be talking from the CHRO and business transformation perspective, and Sharmila, who has huge experience working in global work environment from the people, culture, and future of work perspective. So, and I think, this combination of leaders who are part of this panel today is particularly powerful because campus hiring sits right at the intersection of all these three, what I was discussing just now. So welcome, Anusha, Devashish, and Sharmila to this webinar.
Thank you, Alok.
Thank you, Alok. So let's begin with our first segment, which is future talent and workforce readiness. As you know, campus hiring was traditionally about filling entry-level positions, identifying, roles, varying purpose for which you are visiting campus for different roles, assessing candidates, and hiring fresh graduates. But that equation is quickly changing with AI, automation, evolving business model, and Gen Z entering the workplace. The skills organizations need today, are going to be very, very different what are going to be seen in tomorrow, right? So the focus is shifting from simply hiring candidates who can perform a job to identifying people who can learn, adapt, and grow with the business. So the question is no longer just how many freshers do we need to hire? It is actually what kind of talent do we need to really build, our future workforce. That's what is that question is transiting to. That means, campus hiring is increasingly about building an early career talent pipeline based on capability, potential, and adaptability, and aligning talent strategy with the future needs of the business. Shamila, let me start with you. You are the most experienced here amongst the panelists. As organizations look ahead at the skills and capabilities they will need tomorrow, how is this changing the way they approach campus hiring and build their early career talent pipeline. So are these organizations increasingly hiring for specific skills or placing greater emphasis on potential, learning capability, agility, or ability to adapt as the business evolves? Over to you.
Thank you, Alok. Wonderful question. And I believe all of us in HR as well as in the management is no more, focusing on a volume-based recruitment from campus. The focus is shifting to a strategic workforce planning exercise. Earlier organizations, it would plan saying that, oh, we need so many graduates this year. Today, it is more important is what capability will our business need 3 to 5 years ahead, and how do we build that talent? And that, giving an example here, in 2018, I visited Blinkley University in UK, and we hired 40 fresher graduates, out of which 5 now are in the leadership positions. So this is the transition where you plan for their career growth. So with AI automation and changing business models, many entry-level jobs are themselves changing. Therefore, I would strongly advocate moving from a degree-based hiring to a skill and potential-based hiring. If we look into it, there are 4 factors. The first one is high learning, agility, and potential, where you start identifying what is your workforce and what will be their learning capability and what is the potential they have, and can they support the business which is coming into the next 3 years or 5 years or 10 years, where you already have a strategic goal and you want to make sure your organization is future ready with the talent on the talent front. The second one is build talent. It is no more just going to the market and hiring. So you really need to look into building that talent in-house and making sure that you have much more people whom you are promoting in the organization than to keep hiring from the market. The third one is link campus hiring directly to workforce planning. As I mentioned, in some of my organizations, previous organization, and currently in Mobily also, we are working towards building the talent pipeline and a campus to corporate interventions, where the objective was not simply to fill vacancies, but to create future ready talent and reduce the cost and time associated with building the right workforce. So this concept of all the time, where you have a lot of time, you face challenges where people are on the bench, but you need to keep training your workforce and making sure that they are ready for any future projects your business is taking a strategic decision. So I would say in today's scenario, it is no more just getting a Java, computer science degree or a mechanical degree. It is more about what skills are you processing, what skills do you possess, and how are you continuously learning and making sure that you are ever ready for the future business needs. And you, as an HR, even I am ready, saying to my business, hey, my team is ready, don't worry, it is going to support the business. I'll give an example. In 2018, and in fact, it was in 2016 when we were moving from Lotus Notes, and we had not yet bought Teams O365, Office O365, and I had 20 resources, and the contract was not signed globally. This 20 resource in India, we were asked to let them go. We trained them, and they actually trained 6,500 workforce across the globe who were managing 140 countries. So how are you future ready with the workforce? And mostly people, it's not just trained professional. There were also from campus whom we had hired. They were only in the system for 1 year, and you let them go, but we trained them and we made sure they were ready for the business. So that's what I would say. We have to stop thinking about what degree you have, what kind of education you have. With education, you should have the skills and the potential to make them future ready. Thank you.
That's great. I think you mentioned some of the people you hired in campus in 2018, and 5 of them have become the leaders. So we have one more panelist here who has started her career in 2018 and become outstanding leader in a company which have been founded by Gen Z leaders. I'm talking about Zepto, and I'm talking about specifically, Anusha. So my next question, of course, would be to Anusha. So, Shamla, thank you very much for setting the stage by talking about the future capabilities organization need to build. So that brings us to the other side of the equation, that is the candidate, right? So a degree and academic scores tell us what someone has studied and how they have performed academically, but not necessarily how they will think, adapt, solve problems, collaborate, or learn in a real world environment. So, and with AI making information and technical capabilities increasingly available at just fingertips, qualities like curiosity, inquisitiveness, problem solving, communication, adaptability, and learning agility, which Shamila was talking, may become very, very important now. So let me come to Anusha now. Anusha, from a talent acquisition perspective, what makes a candidate truly workplace ready today beyond academic qualifications? So, and what 2 or 3 attributes signal which genuine potential, in a campus candidate you would like to see?
Absolutely. I think both you and Sharmila have spoken about it, that academic performance is not just the only signal that will, make you an employable, early career talent. So the biggest shift is that we are moving from just academic performance based hiring to more of, let's say, uh, evidence based hiring, where people are put through a certain simulation. If it is operations hiring, there is an operation simulation or a case study. And we have seen so many campuses where different agencies and companies are conducting hackathons and then scouting candidates. And there are so many national level case study competitions which is leading to employment. So it is already established that academic performance is not the only thing that will get you employed. There is a lot more that is required. So a couple of things that campus students have to note is that the technology is moving very fast, and the business landscape is moving very fast. We have seen how q-commerce has moved and changed the entire consumer behavior in the last 5 years, right? Similarly, there is going to be disruption in every industry. So few things that people can do to keep themselves workforce ready. First thing, I think Sharmila also brought up this point, and you also brought up this point, Alok, is learning agility. You will see multiple leaders talk about this, because the pace at which the technology is moving, what you know right now, the skills that we know right now, has very less shelf life, right? The only thing that people can invest in is continuous learning and the learning agility. How quickly will you learn is something that will define how quickly you'll adapt in the changing environment. So this becomes a table stake for everybody, that not only for campus talent, but the talent that is there in our corporate right now as well. Continuous learning is a non-negotiable right now. So second thing that we generally make it a part of our assessment is we assess the problem solving skills and critical thinking. So in Zepto's context, Zepto's business moves very, very fast. So young employees who have learned certain skills and certain functional and technical skills are not really relevant in our business environment. So for us, it becomes very important to see what is your thinking process. How do you break down the problems statements? How can you think as a first principle problem solver, second order thinking? So these things become very, very important for us. So in our assessment framework, we generally have case study based assessment within our campus framework as well, and a lot of coding assessments, and for data analysts, a lot of assessments on how do they play with data. So all of this becomes very important. So the the second thing that they can focus on is to improve their problem solving skills, critical thinking. And the third is, this is something that campus students are focusing on cracking the interviews, and it's something that people do not emphasize that much in early talent, but communication and collaboration is very, very important, because just individual performance will not make you successful in a corporate environment. Being smart individually is good, but it's no longer enough. You have to be able to explain your thinking, influence stakeholders, work with people from different functions to take feedback and iterate and move forward. So communication, collaboration with stakeholders becomes very, very important, and this has to be weaved into the academic process as well. So technically brilliant person who can collaborate can actually slow down. So just a technically brilliant person who is not great at collaboration can also slow down the high performing team. So communication and collaboration is a non-negotiable. So that's something that students have to emphasize on, not just to crack interviews, but as a skill that they have to carry with themselves throughout their career to be successful. And fourth would be, so right now, a lot of campuses are already moving towards this, where they are giving opportunities for their students to work on real life business use cases. So even campus students are spending a lot of time in doing a lot of internships where they're getting hands-on experience on real life business use cases. And so having that business understanding and business readiness becomes very important, because the pace at which the business is moving and the technology is moving, if you don't have a leg in the corporate world, understand how the corporate world is moving, I think you will miss the bus. So being business ready is very important. And last but least, people would have heard a lot of everybody talk about this, right? Digital and AI readiness. So I don't think every graduate needs to be an AI expert, but every graduate needs to be AI curious and digitally comfortable. So it's, what we are testing is not how many AI tools do you know, how well can you use AI tools, but how smartly can you think and use technology. That is what is the real leverage here, right? How can you think and use technology very you know uh, effectively? Can you use AI to make your thinking, productivity, decision making better? So that is where I think our assessment framework is built around. And especially with Gen Z, they are generally a very curious bunch, and their expectation from work is also very, very different. I personally feel that the expectation that they have on wanting meaningful work, faster learning, transparency, flexibility, and faster growth, I don't see it as a challenge, but more as a phase shift or an opportunity for organizations to redesign their employee experience. So if I have to like summarize the whole thing, we don't really hire for what students know right now. When we hire, we also test how do they learn, how do they think, how do they collaborate, and how quickly can they bring value to the organization once they're hired. So,
Fantastic. Thanks for these insights. So I can get it, when you talk the businesses are getting disrupted. Actually, not only businesses are getting disrupted, actually, every function is getting disrupted in any industry or any role which is in the organization. Whether there's a fresher to CEO, every role is getting disrupted as well. So, so what attributes you talked about? Critical thinking, collaboration, communication, business readiness, and of course the digital and AI readiness. I think that's something which is significantly being seen in every, not only the guy who is just starting the career, but everybody, from top to bottom of the pyramid, because the things are dynamically changing, and that's how the organization are building the capability. So thanks for wonderful insights, Anusha, I must say. And let me come to Debashish. I'm sure you've been waiting for quite some time. So we have looked at the capabilities organization need and what makes a young candidate workplace ready, as Anusha just spoke about. But the nature of work itself is changing. AI, automation, and evolving business models are reshaping roles and skills, and which means today's job description may look very, very different what we want to see after maybe a few years down the line. So perhaps the question is moving from, does the candidate have the skills for this role, to does this candidate have the potential to grow with the role and the business? So Debashish, with AI and changing business models reshaping jobs, how should organizations think differently about the talent they bring in from campuses today? Should they hire more for potential, adaptability, learning agility to build talent that can become valuable contributor, over the next 3 to 5 years? What do you, Debashish?
Thank you, Alok. Very appropriate questions. And Anusha and Sharmila has already kind of briefed a part of it pretty kind of decently on those lines, basically. So what are we talking about? That skill is perishable. Because when we talk skill or basically a job, which is a cluster of activities or group of activities which constitute a job, what will be the nature of that particular activities of that job we are talking about? So if you look at in a traditional system of hiring, which is mostly research, documentations, coding, analysis, or in the line of reconciliations, and part of the job when we look at is into customer support or employee experience. So the job itself was mostly from a point of when you look at the scenario was getting into the side of very basic level of skill set when we're talking about that line, and then it is moving into the side of the
Looks like some issue from end of Debashish. So maybe in the meantime, Karthik, can you check? So I think we can move to the next segment by the time Debashish joins back. So I think we had a wonderful discussion in the segment 1, and that makes me to move to segment 2, which is redefining employability and assessment. So one thing is very clear, from our discussion with Anusha and Sharmila, that the future of campus hiring cannot be built around the old definition of a good candidate, right? So academic performance, degrees, and institutional pedigree still matter, but they don't necessarily tell us, how a candidate will think, adapt, solve problems, collaborate, or maybe learn in the real world environment. So, and in the AI era, where even, bigger question that emerge is, can candidates use AI to enhance their productivity while still demonstrating their own thinking, judgment, and decision making? So we are moving from, what qualification does this candidate have, to what can this candidate do, how quickly can they learn, and what potential do they have? So, the challenge is that capabilities like, we spoke just about learning agility, problem solving, adaptability, collaboration, critical thinking, are harder to measure, and organizations need to assess them fairly, consistently, and at scale. So let me once again begin with Anusha, come back to Anusha. So Anusha, from a talent acquisition perspective, how should organizations redefine employability beyond academic performance or qualifications? So what signals and capabilities should recruiters look for to understand whether a young candidate can perform, learn, adapt, and grow in the real world? And how do we see them moving from assessing what a candidate has achieved to understanding what they are capable of becoming? When you're going to campus, your thoughts on this.
Sure. So, Alok, I think briefly I mentioned this that we we are moving from just credential-based hiring to capability-based hiring. So academic credentials are table stakes. They continue to matter. They demonstrate discipline, consistency, and a certain level of foundational knowledge. But that should be one of the inputs in the hiring decision, not the major input or just a single input that makes the hiring decision going forward. When we hire from campuses, I think we should evaluate candidates across a few of the points. One would be, what do they know that we get to know from their academic performance, and how do they think? I think we briefly touched upon the capability based evaluation models like case studies, hackathons, case study competitions, etc. And third is the interesting one, which is what can they become? That signals the potential. So we have discussed the first one is through the academic performance, knowledge, etc. Second one, you can always test through problems solving, case studies, how do they think critically, their communication and adaptability, etc. So the potential, I think, is a softer element where campus candidates uh, might display it through how much curiosity do they have about the business, how much ownership do they display, and how much of learning agility do they have? Do they have evidence of learning agility where they have put themselves in uncomfortable positions where they have seen a multitude of business problem statements or internships? So these are the signals of potential. So I think these are few of the things that we have to keep in mind while we are designing our campus evaluation process. And so these are important because this also covers for today's use case and how the role is evolving for tomorrow. So if we just focus on what they know right now, then we are only hiring for today or yesterday's skill. We are not actually hiring for what is required in the coming year or tomorrow's, what is required from tomorrow's workforce. uh, at Zepto, our early career philosophy has increasingly moved towards this direction. We have built a broader campus ecosystem rather than just looking at few of the traditional institutions. We have engaged with much wider campus network and built structured early career programs across different business areas. Uh, just for a simple reason that talent is distributed, and the previous way the campus was happening, uh, it will not work for us because talent is distributed and opportunities aren't. So we have to take opportunities to the wider segment. So this was one of the effort while we were defining our campus strategy. So we look at academic pedigree, of course. However, beyond that, we also look at these few signals that we discussed. So test I think these signals give us a view on employability. So as what I would also ask everybody to think about in the direction of assessment needs to move and become more towards what is assessment should become job relevant. So assessment can't be like isolated, which will not actually help in giving us the right talent force or help us evaluate the talent required for different departments. For example, I can't have the same kind of assessment for operations, data analysts, and engineering, right? So it has to be different. So it has to be curated accordingly. That's my take.
That's great. I think Devashish, I think if you can hear us, you're back. I think we missed out to hear from you.
Yeah, yeah.
Can you hear us?
Sorry, my
Yeah, no,
yeah,
no
look,
worry. I
sorry,
think you
my
like to,
network drained out
you like
basically on
to,
those minutes.
no worry. So we understand technology sometimes, create disturbance. So
Yeah.
I think my question was to you, just to repeat again, okay, when we speak in the context of AI and changing business model, reshaping jobs, how should organizations think differently about the talent they bring on or from the campuses today? So maybe you like to just
Yeah, look, thank
quickly.
you. Yeah, thanks. Basically, we need to define talent, what talent means to an organization. That is a very kind of primary, this is fundamental, because when we talk about a talent, is it skill, is it attitude, is it performance, is it potential? So that constitutes the total scenario of our talent profiling basically. So once at an organizational level, we have created that framework or the understanding on that line, then we are talking about the identifications of a, see, fundamental things when we talk about a campus, we are saying that is a marketplace. No, those are not marketplace. The challenge is that those are strategic extension of the labor force where we need to get it. We're just looking at it as a marketplace, and that's where sometime we need to look at the point of why there is a skill gap. When we talk about almost 62% people who are coming out of the institutions, they are not employable. Their skill set is not matching. So the question is fundamental. The question is the industry requirement and the skill set what they are producing. Somewhere we have been a part of a rote learning system where know-how itself is most important. And as Anusha, Sharmila, and you have briefed, basically the system need to move to applicability. I know something, I must have a system to make it apply. So application is a key. Learning agility, we have already discussed. That is important because in a system thinking, learning agility, because one of the area when we say that is we are living in a VUCA world. So how do we deal with ambiguity? Is a very, very complex scenario of a person's coming out of the campus, getting into the corporate, because corporate is always, when we're trying to look at, things are changing in that scenario. So I think we need to move beyond the traditional systems of looking at skill, redefining the talent, try to create an ecosystem around it in terms of how can we tap the talent, because talent is not only in the university or few institutions, it is democratized. It may somebody who may not be in the great institute and this thing, somewhere in the tier 2, tier 3, learning all about, try to understand things. I think they can able to contribute equally. So I think it has to be a broader scenario. My
Agree,
understanding of it.
absolutely. So I think that's what you were discussing when you left. Even Anusha touched upon those parts. So you mentioned about 62% in the institution level, people are not skill ready. But as per one of the studies from Metal and Muscles, where 42.6% people who apply for the job, they are largely not employed. So it means there is a gap, between what we learn in the institution and versus what we actually desire as an organization to hire talent from there. So I think we'll touch upon those points a little later as well, on the employability and what the academia and the collaboration with the businesses, we need to really look at it. So, and good to know how Zepto has been transiting into broadening the campuses from maybe different tiers of colleges or maybe different location or geographies probably within the city, within the country. So thanks, Anusha, for giving those insights. When we just was talking about the segment two, we spoke about how the shift from assessing what a candidate has achieved to understanding what they are capable of becoming actually. So, but how do we actually reliably measure qualities like learning agility, problem solving, adaptability, communication, and potential, into a candidate, especially when, hiring hundreds of thousands of people, at a scale. technology is also, changing over the period of time, and we see as far as assessment is concerned. So with AI-enabled assessments, simulations, or AI conversational interviews, which are enabling more dynamic evaluations, right? So Shamila, my question would be to you now. So what are the most effective ways to assess these, capabilities at scale? And as AI becoming part of assessment, how do we ensure it improves the depth, fairness, and consistency in evaluations, not just the speed?
Thank you, Alok. So here, let me take it a step back and say when we are visiting a campus uh, and we are hiring people, the first thing we need to analyze is what is our goal? Our goal is to make sure we have future high performers in our organization. And to look into that, we need to understand what is their capability, what is their mindset, what kind of potential they have, and do they have the capability to take up all these together? So it's not just, so when we are doing an assessment, we are doing it on a multidimensional assessment model where we are testing cognitive capability, behavioral capability, learning agility and potential, business and digital readiness, consistency, not removing the human element. Now here we have to keep going. So it's not one time, where, okay, you visited the campus, you hired people, you bring them here, and then you say, okay, this is the learning, and there is no check. Now, as managers, as HR business partners, they have to collaborate together, and the stakeholders, understanding the learning growth of this person. And it's not one-time assessment. So one is the campus assessment. The second is when you put them into the training program in your organization, you're again doing an assessment, which is the manager touch basis every month, HR touch basis every quarter, to see how well the person is actually going through the target which you have to make them future ready professionals who will be high performers. And if you want to make them, continuous learning is the only way, and the continuous assessment. However, with this, you also have another factor, is you have to make them also ready to take care of their stress. Are they able to identify? Are they not just learning, and are they frustrated in certain areas where you have hired them, but their capability is showing that what project you have put them, they are not doing there well, that they can do it somewhere else. So now this workforce planning has to be done by you, and it is a continuous routine. It's not just hiring them from campus. So it's like a baby, when I always say this, the day a woman knows that she has conceived, she becomes a mother. That day, it's from that day till 18 years, 19 years, or 20 years, she is nurturing that child. As HR, we are nurturing our workforce, our talent, into bringing them to that level. And actually, if you put it across in all my organizations, when we had launched this programs, where we have bought our campus to corporate programs, we have achieved 100% success. And I am glad in some of my organization, they are still there. I have left a couple of organizations, but they are still there and they have grown. So this is what you need to put in. So it should be a assessment which has to be on multi-dimension, and which should be a continuous one. Learning continuously, assessment continuous, and growing them. That is what you are bringing to the table.
I think well said, because it's today, it's not when you are hired and your job is done, because you have to continuously keep adding your skills, upgrade your skills. Is it skill all? It's all skill-led world. It's no more qualification-led world at all. Because I personally feel in next 10 years, 50% of world's institution will close down. The institution will be required to be used only for the purpose of networking, learning the real world business cases, scenarios, which the academia and businesses bring together. And also, when we're talking about the AI role in evaluation and assessment, just to give you, recently we hired some 8 freshers a couple of weeks back. So earlier we used to conduct, GDs and then technical functional interviews and then followed by, HR interviews. So this time what we did, Erica, which is our AI conversational interviewer, everybody gave an interview to her, and we saw that we just recommended 12 people and we hired 8. So I think what has happened, it has given us much better approach in terms of going to the campus, saving time for our team as well. At the same time, it has given opportunity to every individual to be part of that process of hiring, and it just looks after every aspect of critical thinking, communication skill, functional soft skill. That has made life much more easier. So I'm sure as we see AI getting more evolved, the evaluations will go more precise and more fair, and it will really analyze the depth of the candidate, and real potential of the candidate will be known through those assessment tools as well. Of course, human judgment is the final key. So let me move to back
Just
to
to add on
Devashish.
here,
Yeah, please.
Just to add on here, I totally agree. AI agents are really transforming the world. In fact, there will be a time when HR will be managing AI human plus agents together. And in the interview, if you talk about not only the freshers, even the leadership interviews are now being conducted by AI, and it's very well. Some of them I have myself attended. Some of them we are also using AI agents in our freshers campus hiring and all these areas. So yeah, it's really playing a great role.
Great. Get to hear. So I think we are moving towards that largely. So I think I'm coming back to Devashish. Devashish, we met maybe a month back. We had a huge conversation around that. So I'm sure that is one of the favorite topics for you to answer. So as you know, we have discussed how employability is changing and how organizations need to assess problem solving, adaptability, learning agility, collaboration or communication we spoke about. But assessment can identify a gap, when we're talking even AI assessment or any assessment for that matter. It cannot close it, right? So there is often a disconnect between what students learn, what academia assess, and what businesses expect, when they enter the workplace. And with AI accelerating the pace of change, this gap, could become even more wider, So this makes stronger industry academia collaboration increasingly important. This makes, so that how we need to look at in the collaboration perspective through maybe curriculum, projects, internship, and real world exposure. So Devashish, how can organizations and education institutions work together to close this gap, which we see there? And should organizations take a greater ownership of developing future talent before they actually hire them, or rather than expecting campuses to deliver completely job-ready graduates? So what are your thoughts on this? Can you hear me? You're on mute.
Thanks, Alok. So when we say 50% people are not employable, I don't know whether we need to blame the institutions or we need to blame the corporates, because one is busy in that's the nature of business. Whenever we get certain set of requirement from the customer or things keeps on changing, and the institutions, when we're trying to look at, is still in the basis of that theoretical rote learn systems. In a scenario where is the collaborations between corporate and institutions, collaborations between employees and students, collaborations between the thinking pattern. Because what we are all talking about, we discuss about the notions of how a work is delivered, but we didn't discuss much in which environment a work is delivered. Because when we talk about a trusted environment, an environment where an employee is valued, an environment when we talk about the aspects of being transparent. So if you talk about the current generations, so they are talking about a systems which has that values alignment with each other, because that is one of the very important facet when you talk about a corporate and when you talk about a systems which looks into the delivery of that particular thing. So I think it is not just about going to a campus, in my knowledge, and try to be in that PPT or in the day 1, day 2, day 3, but it has to be a robust mechanism of creating that ecosystems where each one knows the other in a much kind of detailed manner. In terms of, as I told, if I go to a campus and that campus knows how Shriram Properties deliver or execute things based upon certain values they believe. So here it will be easier for me to have conversations, and it will be easier for me to have a part of hiring those people who marry to the values as well as the orientation, the skill set we are talking about. We are talking about the skill which is technical, functional in nature, and that's what we discussed in the last discussion, that those skills are perishable and mostly replaced by AI in certain extent, which is repetitive, which is manual in nature. All those things will be replaced by AI. The another aspects of the skill we are talking about, the behavioral skill or the leadership skill, or in totality, we say the human skill in a larger thing. So if we say empathy, if I'm a customer service executive and as a part of my things, okay, in which way you are approaching them, what is my ecosystems of reaching out to those students, having those assessment format, whether the assessment will be technical assessment or some other element, those are part of detailing. But as a competency, if we say that if the engagement factor in an organizations grow by 1%, productivity grows by 4%, same thing if there is a orientations to empathy by an individual, that can have a positive impact towards my productivity. So those skills which will be improving productivity align to the values. And how do you go to a campus and assess those skill set, which will help me to improve the productivity? Because ultimately, any organizations is a machine to create values and ultimately be productive and make those things profitable, because ultimately these are all for profits, and profit is a output of a value creations. So I think there has to be a collaborations where the exchange of students to a particular kind of set of industry or company should be multiple times, may not be just once in fourth semester or some semester coming for 2 months and going and try to look up. There has to be a larger understanding for that. I think there has to be a discussions between the faculties, and though many of the industry practitioners are joining as faculty, but there is a need to make those faculty part of the industry or academic collaboration system. I don't know how that will happen, but there has to be some way of looking at that things. If you are try to get into a particular campus identified as your partners, there must be ecosystems to understand that much deeper, because that will create those meanings where you are trying to take them. Third thing is that, okay, you go to a campus, take them, but then what is your own career path for them? Because they will be also seeking for meaning. We are in a hyper competitive world where everybody is good, but then at the end of the day, people will ask what is there for me at the end of the day. That what is there for me is a value creations which every organization should be clear on that. That's what I said, talent framework. When we are talking about, though, nobody can say what will be the journey in next 5 years, 7 years, because everything is changing, but there should be some element of that value creation journey which should be visible to the candidate at some point in time, whether it is in the form of interactions with their team, whether it is in the form of basically the learning which they are getting through the quality of work what they are doing. So there has to be a meaning, purpose, value in the work itself, rather than just looking at things from a very materialistic perspective. So I think the role of communication is important here, and that's what I'm trying to emphasize. There is a technology partnership where you can reach out to large number of campuses, huge number of candidates. You can better your assessment development format where you can able to evaluate them in terms of which skill set, competency, things you're looking at. But ultimately, the communication has to be there, how the organization is able to create value for them and how they are creating the value for the organizations. That mutuality must be there.
Got it. So I think we very well touched upon with the third segment during our conversation when we are talking about building high performance organizations with fresh talent in the AI era. So probably I would like to skip that part and we are close to concluding our session. But I think there are a lot of questions we'll ask before that. Probably I will jump upon to the leaders, when we have spoken and traveled through all entire campus hiring journey today, and we started with what future talent needs to look like. And we have explored how organizations need to redefine employability and rethink assessment. And finally, we discussed how organizations can take fresh talent from job ready to high performing and future ready contributors. So as we close in terms of our discussion, I want to bring this conversation back to the leaders. One quick questions which you can answer probably in one liner or maybe some structure where if you could give one piece of advice to HR and business leaders preparing their campus hiring strategy today for the next 5 years, what would that it will be? So if you can just get me maybe one line or one key message, each one of you, please. Anisha, you can start.
Okay, I think to summarize our entire topic, right? So just all the TAs out there and business leaders out there, and also campus students as well. So just want to summarize this and just leave you with this thought that the future ready employees, let's say how we see it, is not the person who knows the most today. It is the person who can learn the fastest, think critically, work with others, and use technology intelligently and continuously reinvent themselves. So this is the stack of your skill, right? If you can cover this, it's not just for early talent, but it is for everybody.
Everyone, yeah.
The board is flipped. It is for everyone right now.
Absolutely. Sharmila, your one liner, please.
So for me, the one-liner would be campus hiring is not for filling entry-level positions. It is about creating the leadership and capability pipeline for future. So that's what
Absolutely.
I would say.
It's basically adding the fresh mind, agile mind and a Gen Z mind to the
So we always have to always have to keep thinking about hiring for potential, assess for capability, develop for adaptability, develop through real business experience and continuous reskilling. That is what, and then we build for our future.
Absolutely. Quick word from you, Devashish, please.
Yeah, I think survey concludes that your actual retention problem is 40% hiring problem. So when we are trying to look at things, you can better that in terms of hiring, because learning agility, learning density, talent density, we are all talking about that things, but we must appreciate those people who learn out of different situations and who have the ability to contribute in different situations. I think that's a skill where it's not just about a corporate skill, it is a survival skill. So survival of the fittest. It is all about who can learn, adapt, and change for the betterment of the society, for the betterment of the self. I think that skill one has to pick up, and that's important.
Absolutely. So I think I'm picking one question. So Naveen, thank you for asking question. He has asked question from each one of us. So first question is to me: if you were advising a company conducting large-scale campus hiring, what 3 changes would you recommend to build a more merit-driven, future-ready hiring process in the AI era? I think Anusha answered this because she has been doing that, but I can just add upon. One, diversify your campuses. Try to go at every nook and corner of the campus you feel you're good to go. Second, I see the location where you want to go, maybe the tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, all explore all those because you have great talent in in every nook and corner of the country, irrespective of where the talent has studied or learned. And third, of course, I will say use AI conversational interview process, because that will get your scale much faster, and it will be unbiased, more structured approach to your hiring process. That is from me. And Devashish, he has asked you a question: what are the top campus hiring trends you are seeing in 2027, and how are leading organizations adopting their hiring and assessment strategies? Maybe you want to quickly answer this.
So I think, yeah, I think the campus hiring things, definitely there will be a premierizations and all these things will be there because we are in Indian context. So you have always this, when we talk about accreditations and all those things, ranking, and those things will always be there, which will be a base for identifying which campuses you wanted to go and as organizations basically. But beyond that, there will be a scenario where things will move to a skill-based hiring rather than just talking about a campus scenario. So I won't be surprised 30 to 40% people will be coming beyond the campus down the line in next 3-4 years.
Yeah, no campus needed, just you learn at home.
Exactly. So I think that those systems and processes will be built. There will be understandings which will be it will evolve, and we can see that more and more it will be campus agnostic. But obviously, campus also need to redefine themselves. What is that they are creating? Because they definitely, I'm not saying that the value of campus will go down, but then they need to recreate beyond that, taking huge fee and giving the rote learn systems. They need to evolve what values they are creating and things. So they need to make better students who are corporate ready. And those elements will be a part of, I think, the ecosystem where campus and corporates will talk to each other over a period of time. So I can see a lot of collaborations between campus and corporates going forward. Part of the people will be coming beyond the campus who will be doing equally good because there is a cost to train, and whatever these things we can say, some company may say that, okay, we are ready to train them on those particular skill. So be it, if it is not coming from a premium B school, but I'll make them trained because on the certain lines. So I think those trends will be there, and it is mostly a Gen Z will be asking for what they deserve. They are not shy. They will not say, okay, I'll be looking for my manager to come back and say and these things. They are feedback seeker. They will come for the feedback. They will put forth how I achieved the things and what is my reward. I think that conversation is going to be more on certain lines.
Great. So, Shabila, a quick question to you. With AI tools like ChatGPT, Copilot becoming mainstream, how would organizations redesign campus assessment to evaluate real skills rather than just prevent cheating? So, maybe you want to answer that?
See, ultimately, every organization has to decide which kind of platform they will use. An AI platform I'm talking about for the assessment, and it's not about ChatGPT and all that. Ultimately, when there is, and I'll give an example. When I was giving my SHRM SCP exam, even for leaving the room, for going to the washroom, they made sure that they and it was online exam, but they checked the premises once again through the laptop. And it'll be the same where organizations, if there are human mind is so destructive that if there are ways of cheating, there always will be a way of auditing, and there will be a where organization will do a due diligence, will take care that everything, all the excess is not there when they are, because if you switch your screen, they will come to know that you're switching the screen and all those things. So it's more on, and moreover, I would suggest, like in my one of my organizations, and where we say it's okay to make mistakes. Please, even if you're cheating, at least you're using your brain. So cheat by using your brain. So it's fine. That means you have the right, you have the, I would say, the ability to use your brain towards either you're cheating and getting there and you're trying to do it. But at least we are saying, okay, if you can cheat and you're able to pass, Now let's put it in practical knowledge. It was more on, more on the assessment level. Now do it practically. So how long will you keep cheating? Ultimately, you have to put in the effort and you have to learn. So
absolutely.
A lot of organizations, when they are doing an assessment, they have the tool where you cannot move to one website to the next website and all those.
So I tell you, we saw a lot of observation when people were giving interviews to Erica. So a lot of people were getting those, platform where they can quickly get answer and they are just reading the LLM suggested answer. So we have actually added that capability where if your answer is read from an LLM, the system will highlight this is an LLM read answer. So I think, the solutions are also evolving. So don't worry, you will get those cheaters as well. So, okay, another quick question. Let's see how this is from Pooja Roy. How, as employer, we can perform campus in IITs and get the best school from there? Maybe quickly somebody want to pick it up.
So I would say, even if you want to go to IITs, of course, there is a window where you have to, IIT has a certain window where you have to go there, and there is criteria. The organizations should meet those criteria when you're hiring from IITs or IIMs. Similarly, there are A schools and B schools where you will be going, and you will have the cream level, and that will be, even they have their criteria. It's not just you have the criteria as an organization. The IITians have their criteria and which organization they want to join. So there is a definite window, and you have to be part of that organization, that institute, to go there and hire people. And you have to do a presentation. You have to They do a thorough research on your capability, of how you have trained your people, what kind of packages are you paying, if there is a career growth path for them. Like I just gave an example, I visited Brinkley and I hired 40, and we knew at least minimum 10 will go into the leadership role. And this is in 2018, and I'm talking about France when I was there, and we tried getting people from Brinkley, UK, to France and to UK organize our office. So similarly, there is typically the same is for IIT. One of the question, Alok, I'm just putting it here because one question has been asked: when you go to campus, how do you get good talent? It is, as an organization, you need to decide which kind of institution you want to visit. I'm giving an example. When I was in Bureau Veritas for India, we decided we will not visit any premium school, and we will go to the remote areas of India to fetch the talent. And I had visited places like in Sikkim, Ravangla, which is at the top, to Rohini, which is near the Jammu and Kashmir, Pakistan border, to Jharkhand area, where we got a lot of good talent, a talent which was totally hidden. And we got them, and they were the gems which we were able to attract. You need to decide your strategy, what kind of talent you would like to build. I'm sorry if I've taken time, but
No,
I just
absolutely.
wanted to put that
It makes
here.
sense. So next question, Anusha, if you like to, answer. With AI rapidly changing the skills expected from entry level talent, how can organizations bridge the gap between filling the roles and preparing these new hires with future ready skills like AI once they join?
So I actually see AI and human capability as complementary, complementary to each other. They are not competing forces at all. So the future of work is not human versus AI at all, like a lot of fear that is running around in the market. It is more about humans who know how to work with AI versus humans who don't. I think you would have heard this multiple places, and it is very, very relevant. And that fundamental change also depends on how organizations are upskilling their internal talent. How are they building talent development programs? So AI should become a amplifier for human capability, no doubt. So all the lower level, low value, repetitive activities, work should be taken by AI, and humans should only do like, high value thinking and operations. So for example, let's say any kind of AI can do research, summarize and analyze and create the first draft for you and identify the pattern. But end of the day, the human judgment, context, empathy, all of this is important. That becomes as and when we go ahead in this era, right? So it's more about for us to think. I'm telling this in the beginning because you should get your relationship with AI right. So it's more about how do you view which part of my job can AI make significantly better. That's the question you should ask, not will AI replace my job. That's very important to get the mindset right and get your relationship with the technology right. So beyond that, I think as and when we move forward, continuous upskilling and organizations actually coming up with right programs to train and upskill their what to say talent base will become very, very important. For example, we hired an entire bunch of IITians this time, and they went through an entire boot camp of AI coding. It is completely different from our previous campus to corporate and training programs that we had conducted in the last couple of years. To this time, AI was a part of the entire skill building as soon as they came on board in corporate. And similarly, we also have multiple programs for different departments. Let's say whether it is in HR, whether it is in finance and business operations, where AI is completely integrated in your day-to-day work. So the mindset is, what is it required? How do we develop our internal talent base? How do we develop our internal talent to become, let's say, 2x employees or 3x employees? That is where we are moving towards. And to answer your question, for early careers or let's say for campus hires, the entire program of the boot camp program, right, is completely integrated with AI learning and AI as a very fundamental skill for them.
Perfect. I hope, Hema, your question is answered. Sanjeev Nagar has asked question to Sharmila. I think you have already covered it. What are the core focus areas for fresh graduates and how the basic assessments could be conducted to enable fresh graduates in a very selective hiring pattern emerging. So I think that is largely answered. So I think I'll come to Debashish. If you actually quickly take a quick answer to a question raised by Anand V. Rao. Tech is great. Keen to know if anything is being done to help with assess and fill the gaps before they complete their graduation. What's affordability and adaptability such that most institutions are looking forward to onboard as a method and platform? Is it platform tool enabling training or only assessment for hiring? So here's three segment of question. Maybe you like to quickly answer on those.
Yeah, so basically, good questions. And particularly, if I give a kind of example, if an electrician only knows his job pretty good and he has studied from an ITI, because we are all talking about graduates and these things, if I take it to a vocational study and try to look at, so we all know that somebody who has, let's say, electricians or a plumber, without knowing the technology, and a plumber with technology, I think the earning potential will be much, much higher for a plumber who has technology with him, maybe whichever tools and things. I'm trying to put it, maybe AI based down the line, or it may be automations tool as of now. For that example, if you go back and look at a driver and these are the skill set, a driver who is driven in a AI-based environment like Ola and Uber is earning much higher than a driver in a non-AI-based environment. So those are the differentiator. Now coming back to the questions, in a scenario of a natural intelligence and artificial intelligence, it is always natural intelligence will be the superset of a artificial intelligence. When we're trying to look at it, it will always be subset in terms of AI. The question is that while in academic, how can we make our adaptability and learnability better? So somewhere I know many of the institute they have tied up with some of the, or they have programs where they are talking about an industry mentor. It is not just a program coming there and giving one day of such things. They are making their students handhold by the industry mentors on those things. So I think there has to be some handholding where the experience versus freshers must exchange certain sort of programs and handholding, how things can be performed better. So for an example, when we are talking about adaptability as a skills or learnability as a skill set, somewhere they also need to look at which are the area which that skill set is available, because something is taught in their academics. Many of the things are outside the academics, because when we have example that NEET toppers, many of the NEET toppers are not coming from those top end coaching institute. You can see many of the people who are coming out of their own digital coaching in the era of kind of YouTube and digital coaching and these things. So you need to develop, if it is given by institutions, fine, but it has to have a curiosity, because that is a very, very important skill set to learn, grow more, because we need to understand competitions. If we are saying that close to 50% people are not employable, it also put me that what level of competitions it is going to be, because when we are saying that in a country like India, we have around 50% of the people under the age of 25 or 35, or almost 64% of the people. So I think self-interest, curiosity, trying to take support of people beyond the academics, or learning, basically, whichever mode it is available. I think that is going to make them better.
Got it. I think there is a question from Pushpa Diddi. How can engineering students demonstrate employability beyond grades and skills, especially students coming from Tier 3 college? I will also club Taranjeet Singh's question. With the university struggling to keep pace with the technological change, how can organizations partner with with them to create AI-ready talent pipeline? Maybe you want to take it up, Shamila, quickly. You're on mute.
Thank you. So there has been a lot of organizations which has now partnered with, and not now, it's been ages and more than a decade or so, where they have partnered with university. And there are special programs which is run as per the organizations, what kind of talent they require. And those kind of subjects are actually being taught. And there are even organizations leaders who visit as faculties, where there is certain batch which is run. Now I understand not all organizations can partner with each and every university, but then the general trend which is there, where we know what is in demand and what's going on, and there are labs, there are good labs where university can train their people. Apart from that, there are a lot of LinkedIn groups where there is projects which is where the students can pick up the projects and they can train themselves. And looking into the AI world today, and knowledge is available, and you are on demand, you can train yourself. And keeping in the industry, it's no more the era where and I'm not talking about Anusha or Debashis, but if I talk about myself, in my college days, we did not even had the books. We had to wait for the books, and the books was coming from Australia, from UK, and we are waiting. The half of the semester has gone. and then we used to start studying. So those era has gone. Knowledge is there on demand. You can train yourself. Why only wait from the university side? But a lot of universities are collaborating with the organizations. With Skill India program is going on from the government, where you actually train yourself and you are able to make sure that you are with the industry, you are up to the mark, and you're able to showcase your knowledge, your capability, your competency. So this is why only depend on one way of learning. There are different ways of learning going on.
Well, I think there is a question from Pooja Roy, how to attract and retain Gen Z, one mantra. I think we can ask Gen Z-led organization Zepto. So maybe one quick liner to you, for you to answer, Anisha.
So I think Gen Z are naturally very curious bunch. So the employee engagement that was relevant for the previous generation is not relevant for them. So one quick thing, what will help them is a lot of autonomy and transparency and enablement, right? If that is given to them, they are known to work uh, extra hard, create wonders. My team, like, more than 70-80% of them are Gen Zs. So I have seen them, come up with very creative solutions. They can think out of the box. So I think to hire and retain them, if you can show the environment is somewhere they can learn very quickly, they can grow very quickly, and it's a transparent and ownership-led culture, I think they would naturally fit in and ease in the organization. So that's what has worked for us.
So there's a question from Anand PR. Are we expecting too much for new entrant? Do we see this as bottleneck? Absolutely not. So people, it is been seen in the world. Most of the people who have built billion-dollar organization, they are all college dropouts. So when college dropout can build the multi-billion trillion organization, so I think you can expect anything unexpected from the Gen Z. So don't worry, there's no challenge. It's a question of how they cope up and how they shape up and how they take up the responsibility and ownership. So that's the key part. Another question from Srinath Uday Kumar: does this use of AI in hiring make recruitment more efficient, or does it create new risk of bias and unfairness? So I think somebody want to take it up, but I think I can add here, because every AI process which you use into assessment and evaluation in a good platform, it is always AI governed tools given, which actually reduces bias, unconscious or conscious bias, and as much as possible eliminate unfairness. I think your quick call on this, Anusha, you want to just add quickly on this?
Yes. So, what I would tell folks out there, all the recruiters and candidates as well, that the way recruiting is happening is going to change drastically, right? It's not going to be like recruiter going and screening and employing like their understanding and then filtering people. So we have sourcing machines built for that. We have agents built for that. So there is a risk of, if you don't know how to use it, there is a large part of the talent base that you might miss. And so the omission is a risk, but bias, I don't think so, is a risk, because end of the day, if used well, AI would give you the best set of talent pipeline at a snap of a finger. So that's something that's my view.
So I think Raghunath's last question, in my observation, there are candidates who are focused on obtaining more qualification before entering the workplace. Things get more complex when the universities don't provide a robust placement assistance for the degree they are pursuing. What do you think organizations and students can do to land a job that fits their category? I think there will always be gap. You can see the demand versus supply is the game across the world. So what is important is to continue to build network, gain more skills, become relevant, ensure that you are continuously networking with a lot of people, you have to put efforts to land into a job. I think anybody have different view, let me know, Shamila or Devashish, you want to add something here? Devashish.
Yeah, Alok, I'll say basically also they need to ask the questions to themselves and to the institutions, because have they joined a, let's say it's a MBA, and is it for PowerPoint excellence and Excel excellence, or is it a risk-taking ability as a skill set being developed there? Is it a kind of a skill set of entrepreneurship getting developed there? That question need to be asked to themselves and to their institution where they're trying to join. Because what we are talking about, okay, I'm joining because this campus is giving me 20 lakhs of average package. And that is the market point for those institutions in many of the cases, basically. We are fundamentally not asking what is there beyond in terms of if that is not the case. So fundamentally, I think there will be a scenario where the potential students before joining will be asking which are the things we will be getting out of it beyond just being a rat race in the job market, because all these things is changing to a rat race to the job market is what happening. Beyond that, if it is a institutions to make me entrepreneur, my ability to think better, my ability to be clear in terms of my thought processes, my ability to manage stakeholder, my ability to govern things better, I think if those skills have started building in those institutions, things will be much, much better.
Absolutely. So thank you, Anusha, Devashish, Sharmila, for wonderful insights and answering all queries and questions from the audience. Audience, thank you very much, for raising so many questions and being part of this, conversation and discussion. So what if I have to, there is a one message I take away from today's conversation. It is this, campus hiring is no longer about hiring the workforce we need today. It is about building the workforce that will help us compete tomorrow. So, and in this AI era, that means looking beyond degrees and today's skills to potential adaptability, learning agility, human capabilities, and the ability to work effectively with AI. That's what we all discuss about. The organization that gets this right will not simply hire better, fresh talent. They will build more adaptable, capable, and future-ready organizations. So thank you very much once again to our wonderful panelists for sharing your perspective, thoughts, and a big thank you to everyone once again who have joined today, taking their time from their busy schedule. It has been a pleasure being part of this conversation. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day ahead. Over to you, Ananya.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alok, and a big thank you to Anusha, Devashish, and Sharmila for sharing your perspectives and insights with us today. Today's conversation brought out an important shift in the way we look at campus hiring, right? It's not only who gets hired, it's about understanding potential, assessing the right capabilities, and creating the environment for fresh talents to learn, adapt, and grow. So, as AI continues to change both the hiring process and workplace itself, that this conversation becomes very important. So on behalf of the entire team, I also like to thank everyone who joined us today and made this conversation interactive. If you enjoyed today's session, we would like you to follow our Talent Recruit on LinkedIn, YouTube, and other social media platforms for more such conversations and insights around HR, talent acquisition, AI, and the changing world of work. We'll also be uploading the recording of today's webinar on our YouTube channel, so you can revisit the conversation or share it with your colleagues. And with that, we come to the end of today's session. A sincere thank you once again for all the panelists, Alok, and all of you who joined us. Have a great evening ahead. Thank you.